So I've been getting a lot of questions about this tractor from some machinery and farming enthusiasts that subscribe to me. Well, this is a Ferguson TEA 2085, and this one was made in England. If it was made in Detroit, it would say TO 20, which is Tractor Overseas. This is Tractor England TE 2085, and the serial number, I can trace the year. I believe I did once. I think it's a 53. The newer ones, I think it's on this side, have an air valve on them. But anyways, this one is it's not live PTO or anything. It's got 4 forward, 1 reverse, and the PTO, of course, is engaged down there. And for people that don't know much about tractors, Harry Ferguson, hence the name Ferguson, Harry Ferguson was actually kind of a genius. He was what designed what we know as today as the 3-point hitch. And if I can just kick some of the snow away here, these arms that you'll see down at the bottom there, there's 1 point there, 1 point there, and what they call the top link, 1 point here that you hook up to your implements. Hence the name 3-point hitch. And what he came up with was actually he had his own tractor for a while before this model. It was called the Ferguson Black Tractor, and he also had a deal. I think they might have been built through David Brown tractors, and then he hooked up with Ford by putting his 3-point hitch on the original Fordson tractors. The purpose of the 3-point hitch, there's actually 2. One was to have ease of operation for the operator, so that everything could be handled right from your seat. This is the lever here to raise or lower it. And you would hook up your plow to this. So you wouldn't have a trail type plow that would come out much further, and they would have these great big long handles that you'd have to reach and you'd have to turn around. A lot of older tractors from the 50s, the seat's high up and it's right at the very back of the tractor, where this one you're almost more or less sitting in the middle. And they also had, the big thing with his system was actually involving this spring right in here. This is called the draft control. And this is what he patented, one of the major things, a part of his design. What happens is, when the plow starts digging in the ground too deep, it puts pressure on the spring, and it causes the hydraulics to actually begin to raise the lift arms a little bit on you. And what that does is it pulls it out of the ground, and as it does, it puts more traction and pressure on the wheels to get the tractor to keep pulling. And then when it's too little, it goes by where your lever's been set. Let's say if you're plowing, you've got it set wherever, then it'll go back down to its original level. So that way, unlike the trail type ones where you would hit a hard spot or even a rock or whatever and get stuck, or it would pop off the back on you. And this design with the draft control has pretty much been standard on tractors ever since he introduced it, and a lot of companies tried to adapt to it or make their own system for that. I believe nobody's ever come up with anything as good as what Harry Ferguson did back in the 50s. Actually, it was in the 40s. On the 9N tractor was when it really became popular, on the Ford 9N. Well, when Henry Ford gave the company over to his grandson, I think it was, there was a bit of a rival between Ferguson and the new CEO of Ford. So Ferguson left and he made his own tractors, and that's what these are. And that's when they came out with the Ford 8N, 1948, the 8N. And there was a major lawsuit for patent on design for the 3-point hitch that Ferguson sued Ford over. Most people won't know about that. But this tractor here is rated at about 20 to 25 horsepower, depending what books you read. This one doesn't run anymore. I did use it on the farm. I got a lot of work out of it. I did a lot of plowing with it, some cultivating. I had a disc for it. I did raking with it. I actually ran a baler on it. I had a small Ferguson number 9 baler. And one day it just quit running on me. And I was really tight for money at the time. So I never did get it going, and it sat parked outside for 2 years until I brought it here. I made one attempt at getting it running, and well, some other stuff came up. Actually, it's that Ford over there was more of a priority at the time. So I took the money I had I was going to finish this with and put it into my truck. And it's pretty much that ever since. As you can see, I started by working on it. I had new wires on it. I put a brand new coil on it. I had bought a cap and rotor for it. And, well, the starter had to be rebuilt as well. It was shot. So one day I might get it running. I might rebuild it. Believe it or not, this great big monstrosity here of a seat spring, this was actually an option you could buy called a Comfort. The other ones, the standard tractor, just had a plain piece of sheet metal. I found this other seat at the dump that I was going to put on it. But oh, and this loader, this is a Freeman loader that I added onto the tractor after I bought it. They're not the most practical, as they run off of hydraulics in the tractor. So what happens is if you put your clutch in, because of course all the PTO and the hydraulics are run from the direct drive, your loader will stop working. So if you're in neutral, or if you come up and say you want to raise your bucket, well, you're just sitting, you have to actually take your shifter out, put it in neutral, let your clutch out, raise your bucket, put it back in gear again if you want to go forward a bit. It's kind of a nuisance. But it was cheap at the time, and I wanted some kind of loader. I might take it off. I don't know if I'm going to leave it on or not. It's not really of any use to me. It also could use some back tires on it. But, you know, pound for pound, I much enjoyed using this tractor over many tractors I've driven. And having worked for farms for almost 10 years, I think I've driven just about every brand there is. And I found this tractor to be the most comfortable to use. And I think pound for pound, for the horsepower that it is, I think you get more work done per acre than you would most tractors I've used, believe it or not. I had a Cockshut 1450. It was rated at 75 horsepower, and it wouldn't plow as good as this tractor did. You know, I mean, sure, it would pull like 3 or 4 furrows, but it just didn't have the same feel to it. But yeah, I've driven. I always found case were kind of a nuisance. I always found case tractors never shifted very well, anything I ever used. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that. And John Deere's actually not a bad tractor either.